Sounds great.
We've got the Infinite Squad with us right now, and we're together for about an hour to meditate on kind of the state of society and a little bit of spirituality and just a little bit of everything. And just see, before we started on here, Machete was just talking about, you know, what to do when you're alone or how to be when you're alone. You know, what were you kind of vibing on there, Machete?
Well, I do jiu-jitsu, right? So that's obviously stopped. And you can't really do jiu-jitsu with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, or you can't do it by yourself. You need a partner. But there's like these videos, like some of these top guys have put out there for solo training and stuff. So it just feels like right now with what's going on, like solo training, like being in solitude when you're by yourself seems like a very important time right now. Like we're supposed to keep our distance, obviously social distancing.
Yeah.
So it seems like right now, anything you do on your own is mostly you are on your own right now. So it's all about like solo training. I think it's kind of like Rocky doesn't have a sparring partner. Now he's kind of like training on his own because he already knows what to do. I feel like that's what it kind of is for me. It feels like it's kind of like that in a way. It's like a movie.
Yeah, no, it kind of like, it reminds me of the spiritual journey, you know. The spiritual journey is always done on your own. It's your own walk. It's, you know, Buddha going off into the forest and kind of, you know, giving up the royal lifestyle. It's kind of something like what we've done. We've given up that kind of royal spoiled lifestyle of being able to go here and go in there. And now we're all at homes and we're finding ourselves one-on-one with our mind more often. So it's like a spiritual battle right now. Can you master yourself, or is it going to take you over?
Right now. We're in our own sanctuaries and
yeah,
sharpen our blade, you know, stay ready, stay alert. It's kind of like you're like a samurai in war, but now you ran off, try to hide out, try to survive for a while.
It's the most important time for the samurai, the time when he's training, not the time when he's, well, you know, when you're fighting, all you can do is fight. But up until then, you've just got to prepare. So right now, it's kind of like you should be in a state of preparing for the fight, because it could happen anytime for like the samurai or for ourselves. So I think that's a good,
the old school days where like messengers would be traveling. They'd be like traveling by themselves to give a message, a letter to someone, an important letter. So that travel would take a long time too. It would take days and weeks, maybe even months to get the message across.
So you think we're going kind of back?
No,
back
we're
in
not
time?
going back. I'm just saying, like, those guys are always like alone. They've been like seriously alone. Maybe the people they're going with, or they're not even cool with, and you know, I don't know. Today's this time right now with the quarantine stuff going on, solo training is like where it's at.
What do you think, Dreamcatcher?
Yeah, I'm just letting you guys marinate on it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think for a lot of people, they're not even at the level or the point where they're mastering right now. A lot of people just need to get comfortable with being by themselves and get comfortable in their own skin. A lot of people are having conniptions over what's going on, maybe just because they're focusing on the things that have been taken away from them. And I think if you just focus on things taken away from you, you'll drive yourself into a real perpetual negative state. But for some people, I think they need distractions in order to get away from that internal conversation. So I just thought it was interesting. You guys are talking about towards the mastery of things. And I think that's where you want to get to. I think the first step is just to feel comfortable in your own skin, comfortable with your mind, comfortable with your thoughts, comfortable with that silence. And then from there, the silence is where the infinite begins, right? Like that's where it starts. And if you get comfortable with that, that's when you can start challenging yourself to find things to excel in and hopefully go towards what you guys are talking about, which is mastery. And whether it be a samurai in your guys' example, someone who does jujitsu, it all starts within, right? It does start mentally and then moves up into the physical, which will come
inner
later.
outer world. Yeah, it all starts in your mind.
It's got to start within your mind. So I think if you're comfortable with yourself and this is a great time. I've been telling people, you are either going to just use this time really wisely to build incrementally, or you're going to do the opposite, which is you are going to decline detrimentally. And the choice is up to you. That's a great thing about
And lose your
you know,
routine. Like
yeah,
a lot of people have lost their routine. You know, they would wake up in the morning, they would, you know, have their breakfast, go walk the dog, do a little bit of, you know, reading or whatnot, and then drive to work. And now all of
yeah,
a sudden you don't have to drive to work anymore. And you've
yeah,
got a different routine. Maybe you can sleep in another 15 minutes, another half an hour, or skip this.
right.
And now don't need to get ready anymore. You don't necessarily need to shave every day. And you start slipping a little bit with your
Very true. I think
discipline.
I was about to chime in with discipline. I think it always comes down to the discipline. It's the discipline of your mind in terms of keeping yourself honest of doing the things that you were doing before, and discipline of your body staying active, trying to fight atrophy so you don't break down.
Yeah.
But it's so true. If you had habits, and if you're not continuing the habits, you will either pick up bad habits and then just fall through. Like, perfect example, cigarette smokers, right? You can't usually just cut cigarettes out. You have to replace it with something else. So with these habits that you're losing, like what you've said, get up, you know, get ready for work, get out the door. If you're not replacing those with new habits in this
Yeah.
new normal, you will start to come into some pretty bad or not necessarily beneficial habits.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Like Brian Tracy says, good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. So a lot of people are
Absolutely.
in a period of forming new habits. So watch what it is that you're doing, you know?
This is it. Like, it's so crucial to, I think, be very mindful of what you're doing. I mean, for myself, nothing's changed. I mean, partly because I'm still working from home, it's just virtually, but
Yeah.
I get up even earlier. I mean, partly because, of course, I have a 5-month-old now, and
Hmm.
that always keeps me up early anyways. But I get up even earlier than I would have. I start my day even earlier than if I would have gone into the office, because some people could be like, well, I get that extra time to sleep in. Now, that's one way of looking at it, but the other side is, well, hey, I can start my day that much earlier. I can hit the ground running that much earlier.
Yeah.
And
Increase your
either
activity in times of recession, you know?
productivity, and at the same time, don't get me wrong, there's times to loosen up and enjoy as well. I get to spend a little bit of time more with the family and see the progression of my son.
Yeah.
And then the other side is I can finish up my day earlier so I can go for a run or go for a workout. And so I'm rewarding myself for getting up earlier. So there's both sides of the coin on it. You know, work hard, play hard, but you got to get up early to work hard. What's your
That's
thoughts,
the,
Machete?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my whole routine has been kind of like taken out, but I've kept up some workouts because I'm not working right now because of the lockdown. Not doing jiu-jitsu, can't go to the gym. So I've kept up some workouts and stuff to keep me busy. You know, just routines and goals I reach for. Just
Yeah.
something to aim for rather than just doing it, because I usually find I won't really do something if I'm just aimlessly going for an
Hmm.
activity or workout. If I have a goal to reach, then I'll do it and I'll stay consistent with it. I've
Right.
been kind of staying consistent with doing like squats, push-ups, and a little bit of jogging and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've got my yoga mat out and I'm doing push-ups, squats, you know, all sorts of exercises just with body weight. And it's working. I'm
That's all you
loving it.
need. That's all you need. It really is. You're just, I mean, maybe you can't like go to new levels physically with just body weight. Well, but
You
you
could.
can maintain. You can. Yeah, you could, right? But you can
There's
definitely
tons of
maintain
exercises. There's tons of
so much
exercises with body weight exercises.
Just the
for sure.
push-up itself.
Yeah, if you do the 300 push-ups and you try to do it in as least amount of sets as possible. I remember I was used to do that 300 workout when the movie 300 came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Now there's a 10-minute workout it's only 10 minutes, but if you're
Hmm.
following the guys on point,
Yeah.
doing all their exercises with the smallest break, you feel that burn. Like, you
Hmm.
don't even
That's
need to
good.
work it for the
Yeah.
hour. It's about
Yeah.
muscle confusion, right? If you can't just keep doing the same kinds of push-ups, you can't keep doing the same kind of sit-ups and chin-ups. You gotta keep the body spontaneously guessing what you're
It
gonna do
gets used to
next,
things really fast. Keep it
and that
sharp.
Plateau. You
keep it sharp
plateau.
too. Mhm.
plateau at one thing, you want to go towards something else and strengthen that up.
Yeah.
For sure. I just want to say cheers. Happy Saturday. Thank you.
I've got tea.
Yogi Infinite for having us on here, Raj. Infinite is the word because I got a sideways 8 on my arm because 8 is my number, but sideways 8 is infinity. The loop continues on, and I think the best way to tap into all of what life is about is to think infinite. When people think in scarcity, they limit their reality to the scarcity of it. You become this hoarding scarcity of a person instead of living with the abundance of everything that's out there. And I think it all starts with as we've said, within the mind, but you have to have that infinite belief that anything's possible. And even with what's going on right now, it's better to have an infinite belief that we're going to come up with ways to address what's been going on across the globe, and we're going to come out of it hopefully with some lessons learned, and with better, whether it's vaccines or whether it's just better lifestyles to fight any future pandemics or illnesses that come up.
The lifestyle for sure. The lifestyle 100%. If you're eating like bats and stuff like that, and you're doing shit that's just causing the virus, it's better than all the prevention and safety measures. It's better to just prevent it altogether, like to make sure that no one even eats bats or whatever. And apparently China's still eating bats. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
The whole lifestyle.
I don't know if you could ever really stop that. I don't know if you could ever really police that many people.
I would honestly like to get back to normal life. That's the thing. I want to like go to work, and I want to go jiu-jitsu after. I want to like work out and stuff. I want to like that whole day. My whole day will be taken up. Like,
yeah, you wonder.
Friday and Saturday, and now it's like, now I got so much time on my hands. Now there's a lot to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's definitely a unique time where you have a little bit more time to yourself, or your like routine kind of gets shifted around. But we were talking about infinite earlier, and Dangerous was talking about an infinite mindset. Just I guess my question would be, what does infinite mean to you guys? Is it a mindset? Is it a law of the universe? Is it like a supreme power? Is it all tied together? Like what's your take on infinite? I'll start with Machete. What is the infinite?
I could use a Bruce Lee quote: having no limitation as limitation. And another one could be like using no way as way. But the one quote he uses where he said having no limitation as limitation, I kind of like that. Because you basically set, that's your boundaries right there. There are no boundaries. And that's what I think the infinite to me kind of means, that there's no boundaries. There's no
boundaries to what? No boundaries to what you can accomplish. No boundaries to the mind. No boundaries to the universe. No boundaries to like how far are you taking this? Like, is it just like define yourself, or?
If someone's going to reach their true potential, like just say with Bruce Lee in martial arts, if someone's going to reach their true potential, they're going to have to basically try to beat their plateaus. They can't just stay, happy with maintaining themselves and just stay where they're at. They have to aim to beat the plateau. So they have to basically act as if they have no limitation. If they act as if there is limitations and they get too scientific and they start like saying, oh, I can only maybe jump this much further.
Yeah.
Maybe only get this much better in whatever. Then they've set limitations and they're not going to probably reach their peak. Guys like Michael Jordan, he didn't just limit himself. He actually thought he would 100% win. And he played to win. Every single game, Jordan gave it his all. It was always on, never off.
Yeah, that's a great just documentary on Netflix.
Like the new documentary, yeah.
Have you seen A Dreamcatcher?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I think, Michael Jordan's a physical illustration of infinite potential and infinite belief in himself, infinite confidence. When I think of infinite, we're living in infinite. So we got two sides of infinite. So we've got the macro of infinite, which is the universe expanding faster than we will ever be able to catch the edge of it. And then we have the micro of the infinite, which is the smallest of the smallest quantum entanglement filaments that they haven't even discovered yet. and then as you see, my head's in the middle, and that's where we are. We're in the middle of the two sides of infinite. It goes as vast as you could imagine and fathom from a cosmic standpoint, and there's universal intelligence behind all of it. And then to the most micro portions of bodies and cells and organisms, there's intelligence there, and we're in the macrocosm and the microcosm of both. And I think it's this book I'm reading right now, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind by
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra. He's talking a lot about the infinite ability to increase our longevity. Now he's talking about even getting to the point of mortality being defeated. Now that's a pretty bold claim to say we can live
Immortality.
forever, but the cells do recreate and regenerate. You know, we are mini Wolverines without the adamantium frame, of course, but we are generating anytime we get a cut. We are regenerating our cells and rechanging our DNA constantly. So he's looking at ways of how stress and anxiety and just how we think about aging can affect our ability. And right
That's
now,
so true.
yeah, and so that's an infinite way that
The way we
on a
look at
cellular level,
aging,
infinite.
we have a norm in society that looks at aging in a very like negative way. That's like
True.
when you reach a certain age, people are always like, even people when they were like 19, 20 years old. I had this guy working when he was 19. He's like, man, I'm too old now. I'm like, you're 19 years old. How can you say you're too old now and washed up and over the hill? Even
Maybe
when he's
too
like,
old for his current situation.
Yeah.
Like people do this in their
Let-
20s and 30s, but it's like it's
Listen
crazy
to this.
why we do that to
Listen to
ourselves.
this, guys. Like right now, we're all kind of like at 39, 40, right? Um, this is typically when the midlife crisis starts to occur for people. The crisis
Rebirth.
is oh yeah, but for a lot of people, I think it's when they realize or they think
Yeah.
it's halfway of their life,
Yeah.
right? Like you typically live to about 80. But that was thinking back then. Right now, we will start seeing people really start living into their 110s, 120s. So in
You think
essence,
so?
oh yeah,
The
no
younger
question.
generation for sure. We'll get
No,
into
no,
the
no,
100.
not even the younger generation. Our generation, people, which I think we have the best of both
That's
worlds.
yeah.
We have a lot of the analog, great qualities, but we also then were exposed to this new digital.
Yeah. So the experience behind it. Yeah.
So we can be we could literally be in the first of 3 chapters. If it's like a stage, like a Shakespeare play, we are just in the first act, and we still have 2 acts left to go. And what are we going to do with these acts from 40 to 80, and then from 80 to 120? But just going back to then infinite, I think that's one way of looking at infinite, is the infinite ability to change our cells, to change our structure of aging. And I just sidebar kind of, but I wanted to say something about it. With everything that's going on right now, having a real strong sense of mind is so crucial right now. It's vital for your survival.
Absolutely.
If you are negative, if you are depressed, if you have stress and anxiety for the circumstances that you're currently in with this global pandemic, that's actually bad for your immune system. That is bad for your cells to the smallest level. That is bad for your
Psychosomatic
nervous system.
illnesses.
This is so true. And you'll manifest things that will lead to triggering other illnesses. So the best thing you can do really is to have such a positive outlook and a gracious outlook of things, because that will raise your frequency, or raise your level of your cells, and your cells are communicating to all the other amazing parts of your body. So throughout your nervous system, you can be running at such a peak level, and that's what we need to do to, one, get through this, but in terms of aging gracefully. And so that's a bit of in terms of infinite, of how I believe it. We're in the middle of the macro and the micro of infiniteness. What about you?
Exactly. Yeah. And just to your point there about just keeping your experience going, keeping the vibrations high. A lot of people right now, they're stuck in repetitive patterns. It's, living room to kitchen, kitchen to home office to backyard. You know what I mean? A lot of the day can be consumed just like doing that. The repetitive motions kind of suppress your vibrations. So like how to, find new activities. And one of those is just what we're doing right now, using Zoom, using other apps to create engagement or to be around people and absorb their energy when you couldn't traditionally. So I mean, if people don't find digital mediums or other alternatives to kind of create that stimulation and engagement, that's when kind of the mental weaknesses kind of start setting in. Just to your point.
That's a great point, Raj. They actually said that phone calls are the highest they've been in 21 years this week. People
Yeah.
making phone calls. And when you think about it, even us as friends who've known each other for, 20 plus years, when do we get on the phone, especially for guys? Maybe it's different for women, but the typical guy, heterosexual guy, doesn't really call up his friends and talk um, for long periods of time. It might be calling to say, hey, man, I'm coming by, or let's go do something. Let's go shoot some hoops. Let's go for a hike. But it's not long conversations. Whereas
Yeah.
now, like, look at us. And we've done this, Herb and I, Machete and I, my brother and I, and other friends of my wife's and stuff too, of like, we're not even just getting on the phone. We're now video chatting, and which is taking phone calls to another level. So there are some real social dynamics that are a positive of what's happening with this. And hopefully when this is all done, we'll call our family more often, and we'll call friends and acquaintances, clients.
Long-lasting effects. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is I think it's a good habit that's being created, that we are still connected and share ideas. And you can't do that without, some level of technology, whether it be telecommunications or with digital, conferencing like Zoom. Shouts out to Zoom, our sponsor for the evening.
Yeah, Zoom is so
Yeah. Yeah. Invest in that stock. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think got to backtrack now, and it was on kind of my idea of infinite. When I think of infinite, the infinite to me is everything. It's the energy that transcends everything, all matter, all life, all universes and galaxies. The infinite flows through it. It's the universal order, the universal wisdom, the universal power. That's the infinite, and we're within the infinite, except that the infinite has no boundaries. The infinite's not physical. It's made of something eternal. It's all powerful, all knowing, all creating, but we're something physical stuck inside the infinite. So the infinite's everlasting, no boundaries. We live and die, and we have boundaries, but we live within the infinite. And all of us long to merge with the infinite. We realize that the infinite's within us, but we're trapped in a physical body, and it's our desire to experience the infinite, to break free of the physical boundaries in some way and become one with the infinite, whether you're Michael Jordan going down the court, just totally unconscious, draining jumpers, or whether you're succeeding in business or whatnot. And I believe that's our spiritual journey. So when you ask me what is the infinite, it is everything and our purpose within it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to see we're trapped in our bodies, though. I don't like to think of it that way. Because I know some people have amazing bodies and they're very athletic, and they probably have a bunch of great sex, and they wouldn't think they're trapped in the body. They would be enjoying their body, right?
Well,
so the body and that infinite source you're talking about, they're merged together. They come together.
Definitely people enjoy their bodies. I think my point was
one without the other. You can't.
I think it's more of Raj's. I think, if without speaking for you, but I think what you're getting at more is that this is kind of the shell that we currently have. There's a saying that we are that we're human beings having a celestial experience, right? And but it's we're celestials having a human experience.
Or like consciousness having a human experience.
It's the flip. We happen to now be experiencing what it's like to be encompassing in a human body.
So given a mind, basically consciousness has a mind now where it can
Exactly.
think, it can put together a view of the past and the future, because if you take away, like, consciousness is just that aliveness, and once you give it a mind, now you can actually live, you can actually remember, oh, I did this yesterday, I'm doing this tomorrow. Without that, life would kind of be pointless. You'd be trapped in like the infinite, not having any like time at all.
What about the
It's for
universe? Is the universe conscious, or does it give birth to consciousness, or both?
What do you think?
Conscious, or does it just give birth to consciousness, or both? I don't know.
I think before the human mind, there was always a consciousness to the universe, right? The universe chose to go from the smallest minute point where all mass and energy had gathered into an eruption, an orgasm of energy, the greatest explosion known to existence of the Big Bang, to then send everything hurtling faster than the speed of light away from each other. And the same thing of that, gravity is trying to hold it all together, but yet there's some sort of, whether you call it dark matter, dark energy, put any sort of labels on things, there's something still pushing things further out. Like there is an intelligent, organized hand behind it. And before we came into existence, it was always there. Dinosaurs couldn't maybe remember more than, hey, this is where I can go to drink water. Hey, this is where I can go to kill the Stegosaurus. Like, and then as we evolved from Cro-Magnons to Neanderthals and have become men who lived in dark ages to where we are now, video chatting on, devices.
Yep.
We are now a reflection of the consciousness that is there. We are just given the greatest gift known to existence. Aliens might have a hand to say in this, but that we are aware, we are sentient, we understand that we are autonomous and conscious, and we know our place in the universe. And we can ask these questions, like the question you just posed, Machete. Like, that's a gift, because not all animals can think like that. Although there's some brilliant animals who have brilliant minds,
there are,
right? But they still can't do what we do, and that's something to be really grateful for. It can humble you, of like, you could have been an orangutan, you could have been a dolphin, both beautiful creatures. It's both smarter than most of the animal kingdom, but still, they still can't do the kinds of imaginative things, creative things that we can do.
They can't create a large scale organization like human beings can. We can contact other countries.
We can't make a movie.
Right now, what we've done, we've basically have the entire world doing the same thing because of the COVID-19. If this was 2,000 years ago, there's no way that you could get information across the world that fast. A stronger virus, or maybe this virus, would have wiped out a significantly larger portion of
when
people.
was the Black Plague? When was the Black Plague? Wasn't that like 1300s or something? I don't have no clue when it was. 1700s, 1500s. When was the Black Plague? You guys know?
No, I couldn't say. I couldn't recall when exactly it was.
Yeah, I know exactly about your point.
I'd be bullshitting it. I'd need Google or Bing for that. But the interesting thing, Raj, you're bringing up, is that it's true that we wouldn't be able to share the ideas, to connect, to be able
1300s
to help each other out. But at the same time, but we would have been spreading the virus a lot less effectively back then, because
if we couldn't
travel
cooperate.
is what's really put the world. For sure, right? But the world is traveling so much. That's what kind of got us into the situation we're in, is because of the just the robust ability to travel so easily. Back then, in the 1300s, one pocket would have probably got the coronavirus, and that would have been it. They all would have died. Nobody would have known about it. Years later, people would have came and be like, "How come this area is empty?" No, really, because no one got along or got around, right? People
Yeah.
were traveling huge distances. But that's a side thing. That's a side thing. I wanted to ask you guys something. You know, I've got this rhyme. I say, you know, or not a rhyme, but it's a line. It says, "You can't spell meditation without me."
Right.
It's true. Look it up. So I wanted to just maybe switch gears because we're talking about the infinite and, you know, how do you get to the infinite? And I feel that meditation, that silence is the gateway. So I thought I just wanted to get a little understanding of what you guys think about meditation and, and also what your guys' maybe tricks, traits, practices are for it.
Well, for me, I don't really meditate too much at all. I have meditated, but I haven't done a consistent like 1 month or 2 months in a row of meditation. But I think because of loving martial arts movies and like doing jiu-jitsu, meditation is huge. Like if you look at any of the craziest martial artists out there, they all meditated, like Bruce Lee, Van Damme, Chuck Norris, like Hickson Gracie, like all of them, they all meditated. And they didn't preach it too much that you had to meditate, but it was like a theme throughout all the movies. Throughout all the movies, there's always one theme. Like the main guy, the humble martial artist, he's always meditating, right? Have you guys ever noticed that? Like, you know,
why do you think that is?
Yeah.
I think meditation is maybe one of the keys to unlocking yourself and giving healing to your body and strengthening your spirit and your mind. I think it's just a beneficial tool.
Yeah.
For people to use.
Yeah, no, I've got this.
I don't know too much about it.
I had this kind of video that I did a while ago to kind of comparing the mind to in iPhone and talking about how
That's a great metaphor. I remember that one. That was a great metaphor. Continue. Sorry.
You have so many different windows, so many different tabs open, and then you go and check your tabs, and you've got like 20 tabs open, and you've got no idea because you've just been running at the surface level with text messages and calls, just like you're doing in your day-to-day life. And then you go, like, you have 20 tabs open, and you close it, all those tabs, and all of a sudden the phone starts running so much better, so much smoother, you know, and the camera is not as like, you know, fuzzy or whatnot, and it's kind of like the mind. We go through so many situations throughout our day, so many different problems and situations that we need to kind of solve, and they kind of all get pushed to the back as we continue through our day. And then when you meditate, it's kind of like you get to go back to all those different situations and close those conversations up. And when you finish the meditation, you feel so refreshed because you've got all that processing power back, you know, kind of like when your cell phone's being robbed of processing power when you've got all those tabs open. So that's kind of my way of kind of explaining what meditation is to just gain back that processing power of the mind and to just resolve those old issues, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a great metaphor, Raj. Yeah, I remember that post there. And I think it's so accurate in terms of in this digital era, which I think people gravitate towards, and that's a great way of connecting with people when you can spin it in a way that is applicable to what they're doing every day.
Make it modern.
Make it modern, yeah. Make it, you know, in comedy they'd say, you know, make it relatable, and so yeah, that's what you've done. I think. You know, similarly, I think it comes down to meditation means a lot of things to different people. I like to think what I do is meditation. I don't know if it's exactly called meditation, quote unquote, but I mean, I look to start my day every day. I put alerts in my phones. So at like 6:30, I start with gratitude. I'm getting into that gratitative state. I'm thanking the universe, the cosmos, God, whatever kind of belief structure you have. You know, I'm thanking for my mind, my memories, my thoughts, my family, friends, all of that. The gravitational pull of Jupiter that protects us from all of the cosmic debris, the magnetic field, stratosphere, atmosphere. Like, you can really get
Yeah.
intricate with it. And then that's what really gets you in this feeling of appreciation that gets me then primed for visualization. So then I then start to just visualize how I want my day to go. I'm visualizing if I was driving to work, no traffic. I'm visualizing how I want my sales calls to go. I'm visualizing how I want proposals to be created, how
Yeah.
deals are going to be transpiring. And then from there, it gets into the affirmations of things, right? Like, today's going to be an exceptional day. Today's going to be extraordinary. Today's going to be an adventure. There's going to be something new. There's going to be something wonderful for me around the corner. All these different things, everything's going to be flowing like clockwork for me. And then after those affirmations, a little bit of quiet time, and then you get into the massive action. But in that time frame is when it's really quiet.
Yeah.
And I also think stretching. You talked about yoga kind of off the top, and I think I don't really do yoga, but I stretch, which I guess
That's a part
yoga.
of yoga. It's the physical side of
Yeah,
it.
right. Like, so maybe to a small degree. But before I go to sleep every night, I will really get into some stretching, some breathing. And I think that's the basis of yoga. It's just they get into real complexities. Like anything, if you can want to become a master, you'll learn all the poses and all the breathing. But I think getting back to the mindfulness of your body and your breathing is the way that you can quiet your mind, tap onto that bridge of infinite once you can get into that silence. And that's what I think meditation overall kind of means to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. You described like a whole bit of like a spiritual practice that you have in the morning. Like, it can be bigger than just meditating, because you kind of, it's all meditating, because I mean, that's a very broad word, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can uh, kind of shorten it down to going inwards. That's
Yeah.
meditating. And there's 100 and 200 different ways, you know what I mean? More than that, of how can you shut off your kind of the five senses. It's not so much about what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. You know what
For
I mean?
sure.
Maybe if you're talking it out, if you're verbalizing something, yeah, it becomes, but really what you want to do is just all in your mind, prime your mind. So you can call it meditation, you can call it a spiritual practice, but that's definitely what you described there. So
Yeah, meditate. It's like meditation's a book, and all those different things I was mentioning are kind of like chapters. Like, meditation's the book. Within that book of meditation, you should be having your gratitude, being visualizing what you want your day to flow like, those affirmations, having that quiet time, stretching, breathing, and then all these other chapters of what meditation can be. I think, and people aren't tapping into it enough, I feel. And to each his own, right? Some people would rather live in life of distraction, and people would rather just find something to occupy their time. And to each his own. But I think when people can slow down, and I hope this whole thing that's been going on will get people the just the feeling that it's okay to slow down. Because when you slow down, and I don't care if it's sports, or it's art, it's music, film, sales, as we're in, when you slow things down, that's when you see everything. Within the gaps, that's when you see the pockets.
yeah.
And that's when you can get your best brush stroke. That's when you can get your best crossover. That's when you can get that perfect scene, that perfect note. That's when you can get that perfect pitch.
In that infinite moment, would you say?
In that gap. Yeah.
That's how you can get exactly, once again, slow things down, enter into the stillness, you know what I mean? Maybe you
Slow
can't be
things
perfectly still.
Yeah.
What was that,
That's why they
Machete?
do.
I
Okay.
said
Yeah.
if you can slow things down in the midst of chaos.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
That's
what you
why
want to do.
that's why all the scenes in movies, when it's the ideal
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
moment, it goes to slow motion. Because it's like, it's like Neo in the
You're
Matrix.
seeing it through the
You
guy,
know,
you're seeing it through the character's mind.
yeah, I mean, that's when you're dodging your bullets, because you've slowed everything down and you're able to maneuver.
And they have the
When
power to
you
do
see
that because they're the hero of the movie.
That's
when you
right.
see something done to you for the first time, if you see something for the first time, you do see it kind of fast. Like in jiu-jitsu, like if someone just does some new techniques to me for the first time, you kind of don't see it. You're like, what's going on? Like, it's just happening. But over time, once it's been done enough, then you can see more of it.
You see it coming from far away. You see the setup.
That's how time kind of does start to slow down, and you do recognize what's going on
When you become experienced and you're more prepared for it.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. So it's been a pretty good conversation. I think I might bring up one final topic here. You know, a lot of people are getting away from their religious kind of order. They're not able to go to church anymore, not able to go to the temple anymore. People are starting to be maybe a little bit more spiritual at home. We're still keeping the religion. But my question was, you know, what exactly is the difference between religion and spirituality? Are they both the same? Do they stand for different things? You know, like, in my opinion, I'll let you go first. You know, what do you think? Machete, what do you think?
I think when religion was first created, I think its purpose was to like help people get in touch with their spirituality. But I think when it was being created, those people thought that they had to think like them, that everyone had to think like them. And that's when it became like a cult. That's when it became like control. And it no longer was a spiritual thing, because spirituality is more about the individual, right? The individual and his connection to everyone else and everything else. But religion basically got to the point where it just controlled people. It suppressed spirituality. It
became political.
And so religion is just a form of control. Spirituality is the actual real thing that you want. That people that go to religion for, they go for spirituality. They go to be in touch with their soul. So they go to religion, but really religion isn't going to do that. Or some religions do. I don't know. I'm not really religious. I don't study religion, so I don't really know exactly how a lot of the religions work. But it does seem like
certainly what they preach. I mean, religions preach, I'll give you entry to heaven. Or if you don't listen to what I say, then you're going to hell. So, some religions do guarantee that golden ticket to heaven.
Spirituality is more about being free. You get to explore yourself. You get to be one with yourself. It's okay to make mistakes and stuff like that, right? Spirituality is way more freedom. That's how I see it.
Do spiritual people believe in heaven and hell?
Probably. There's probably people who are very spiritual that believe in heaven and hell. Heaven and hell can be a mind state too, right? You can still believe in that because you can feel evil presence like within you and like from other people. You can feel it being so real.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it. And with the side of good and righteousness, people can feel such great, like, they love poetry, they love movies, they love music, and like that touches them big time. So they think there is maybe really a heaven. So it's not just like, just if you're religious, that's the only way to believe in heaven and hell. I think when you're spiritual, you can very much so believe in heaven and hell. Those things aren't just made in the Bible. That's been talked about in Egyptian times.
No one's looking to go to hell.
Huh?
No one's looking to go to hell. We all want to go to heaven if there is one.
There's plenty of people worried about going to hell, so they live their lives according to the Bible, not to go to hell. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is true. What do you think, Dreamcatcher, difference between religion and spirituality?
It's a great question, Raj. So I think Herb's right. I think spirituality is where it all started, and religion was what man or humanity created to make sense of it all. And depending on what part of the region in the world you were in, way back when these religions started to form, it was a form of community. It was a form of like-mindedness where people could get together and have a like-minded view of spirituality. There was a book I read called I believe it was called Calibration. What it did is it calibrated all of the archetypes of all of the major religions. And so we're talking Jesus, Muhammad, we're talking, Vishnu, Krishna, Shiva, all of them. And it talked about how in the beginning it was pure. All of the religions spoke probably on that more spiritual vibration. It was all pureness. But then through the years, through the ages, it became like a game of phone tag, or where it's like by the end of the phone call, it's not the same message that it was at the beginning. So
Yeah.
it got perversed, the messages. And it talked about things like, for instance, Christianity, which went through the Dark Ages. And when they were in the Dark Ages and lighting people on fire for not believing what they believe, like they
Oh,
were
geez.
vibrating at such a low frequency, right? So if 1,000
Yeah.
was what it was, the number was, 1,000 was the purest, where all the archetypes, Buddha, Jesus, were all vibrating on. And then through the ages they dropped down. And the interesting thing they said was the religions that have fallen the least, or the few, for not the furthest from grace, was one was 970, meaning through the ages the monks, Dalai Lamas, they haven't really perversed or corrupted the message too much from what Buddha was saying. Second was Hinduism, which was like operating at like a 960. Once again, the Hindu teaches the Vedanta, all of their omni gods that they have, they kept more true to it. All the other religions started operating at like 700, 600. Islam right now is operating like at like a 200 because of everything that's going on in the Middle East and jihad and all of this.
Yeah.
And in the Muslim world, like it's just, they perversed it so much, is what the book talked about as well. And I bring that book up because I think it's true that it was a very pure intention that they had. People misinterpreted. People took it the wrong way. Going back to Herb's point, people started saying, well, my God's better than your God, or my gods are better than your God. My God is the true God. And
Yeah.
then it became a pissing match of these archetypes and these belief structures, which gets away from the whole thing, which is all about unity. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was always promoting. Spirit's always about unity, right? And they misprogram between religion and spirituality. For me, I was an atheist. My dad's Christian. I got a sister who's kind of Buddhist. I got another sister who's Jehovah Witness. And my dad was always pushing Christianity on me. I mean, my wife's Hindu. Her dad's Sikh. Her mom's Hindu. Like, I'm tolerant of all beliefs. But I was an atheist for the longest time. And my sister, who's the Buddhist, when I was describing things, told me, no, the way you describe things, you're actually more agnostic. And I was reading this book by Russell Simmons called Do You. And I highly recommend you check it out. It really changed my life. And I remember flying back from a conference from Montreal. And it's a beautiful book. And I started crying on the plane because it talked about God in a way that wasn't how I'd been presented before. It didn't talk about God like on a throne in this whole kind of heavenly
Yeah.
essence. It was more of that God was within us, like this,
Yeah.
whether you call it the universe or whatever. And that's kind of when I realized I'd missed the mark, because I was
Mhm.
so blind to the religion that was getting pushed on me.
Yeah.
I was missing out on the spirituality. And that's the one thing I'd say to people. I bring up that long-winded story is just to say that don't let some of the flaws of past religions, because they've all made mistakes for the most part, right? Don't let those mistakes, those flaws, interrupt or block you from the great experiences you can have with spirituality. Um, do whatever vibrates best to you and feels good for you. But I think there is some amazing things you can tap into when you're tapping into, mind, body, and now soul. And I think that's what people should look to do. And one final thing, and then I'll let you give your 2 cents, Raj. Heaven and hell. That's a Christian term. Maybe they have it in Islam as well.
They've talked about heaven and hell a long time ago,
I
before Christianity.
think
Dualism.
it, yeah, it goes back, but it goes back to a quote around Jesus said about like, the kingdom of heaven lives within me, or something to that extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
and
heard that.
so heaven and hell is real. It's what we're living in every day. We live in the heaven that we create when we're feeling that passion, that bliss, that happiness, that contentment, that pure joy. That's heaven. but we can dwell in hell. When we are in the darkness of things, when we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, when we hate, when we are jealous, when we are angry, when we are upset, when we are envious of things we don't have, or just all those negative emotions, that's hell. You are suffering. That's a form of suffering. That's what all Buddhists believe, is that they want to end all suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way you can end all suffering and avoid hell, and find your heaven, is to get rid of those things and live in a feeling of bliss and
Total detachment.
contentment. And yeah, that's my 3 hours. How about you?
Yeah, no, that was pretty intense. Spirituality, I guess we're talking about the difference between spirituality and religion. I think Herb kind of really hit it on the head there about, religion trying to control and spirituality kind of freeing you up. And then, you definitely had some good points there as well. I guess the point that I'll bring up about religion and spirituality is the crazy relationship that they have, and kind of the cyclical nature that it operates on.
Right.
Eventually, the early civilization, of course, believed in a god, whether it was the sun god or the Egyptians believed in the pharaoh, or you don't know what it, whatever it was. And it was always a religion, and religions seek to create order. They seek to control. With a religion, everything is already explained to you. This is the God, this is how you're going to go to heaven. You have no questions. The religion will dictate. All knowledge is there for you. You don't get a choice in what you believe. Everything is solved. The puzzle is solved for you with religion, and it brings order. It even will create laws. In the earlier times, they might even collect a tax from you. And religion basically becomes a business that seeks to control, and there are no answers. There are no questions, because all the answers are provided.
Right.
And then when that gets to too crazy of a level, too controlling of a establishment, then certain people will lash out against the establishment and go their own ways, kind of like Jesus did to the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And he went and started his own spiritual journey. Jesus
Right.
became a spiritual man, and he went against the Judas. He went against the Romans. He had a spiritual tribe that he led.
Mm-hmm.
And then after his death, all of a sudden, they based a religion on a spiritual journey.
Right.
So
The
they
pilgrimage.
took
Yeah.
something that basically broke the establishment, went his own way, created a bit of following, and then they took it and created it back into an establishment. So
Mm-hmm.
you have spirituality creating religion, and you look at Buddha. He gave up all his royalty. He gave up all his money. He said, I don't want to be a Hindu. And he rode into the forest on a spiritual journey, breaking all order and establishment. And then what did they do? They took his spiritual journey and they turned it into a religion. They turned it into Buddhism, once again, creating order out of a spiritual journey. So kind of seems to be linked. Religion is the controlling of society through spirituality, and then spirituality is the destruction of religion. If you kind of look at it, you know what I mean? And they just keep going back and forth. That's kind
It
of
is a bit of
Yeah.
duality between religion and spirituality. It's
yeah,
like you can't have one without the other. Someone's
definitely.
looking to control the spirits, and others looking to free himself from it. It's been a theme going on in society for the longest time. There's someone looking to control, and there's so many people trying to free themselves from the grip of that control.
Right now, the government's trying to control us, trying to keep us inside our houses. You go to the basketball court, and they've got 2x4s on the hoop. You can't even take a shot.
Stuff, yeah. At this time, it seems like there's going to be people who are going to be even deeper into spirituality or deeper into religion.
Yeah, and
or
that's one of the reasons we started this right now.
There's a lot of people who are going to talk about the Bible being right, that there's some sort of prophecy going down right now, or there's going to be people talking about this is a test for everyone, a spiritual test to see how they are.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are going to come out a lot softer from this, because most people don't seem like they're going to come out like working hard alone and then come out stronger. They seem like they're going to be a bit sluggish and off.
I agree, and we're here to cater to those people and hopefully get some viewers and going through the exact same thing that we're going on. But basically,
Yeah.
we have reached the 1 hour mark here. I think that was a pretty good episode.
That was actually pretty fast hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
now I see why Joe Rogan podcast can go on for like 4 hours sometimes.